to Over It. I am totally delighted today to have my dear friend, Andrea Jacobs, with me. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, I am delighted.
Thank you so much for being here. And just a little intro about you. I think we've been friends for going on 30 years
That sounds right.
because I knew you when you were still in grad school
Yes.
before you got married.
Yes.
And we have really, I feel like in the last couple of years, like I feel like our friendship has just like exploded in the best possible way because I've always been, good friends with your husband and friends with you, but I would see your husband more through the years at shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like you and I just feel in the last couple of years, like I always loved you, but like I've completely fallen in love with you. And I feel like I've really gotten to know you on a whole nother level. And I'm just blown away by you. I just think you're one of the most fun, sweet, down to earth, like, I don't know. I just
Oh my
adore
gosh.
you.
I think we have to do the podcast every day.
It's true though. And you also have a killer wardrobe. You're actually wearing a shirt that we both own right now,
Yes.
thanks to our friend Jamie. So
Right.
just welcome to Over It. And, we're just here to talk about kind of where you're in your journey with womanhood and your journey with healing, your journey with aging and what that's bringing into your life.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you so much for having me, Donna. I love you, and you are an amazing woman. And I think, there's this simpatico that we share. And every time we get together, I just feel like it gets richer and richer. And you bring so much life and energy and wisdom and spirituality and love. And I think that like we just can't get enough of each other because of all of this wonderful, juicy qualities. So thank you for having me on. This is going to be really fun. All of those journeys you just mentioned, I am definitely on. So wait, what did you say? You're like womanhood,
Um,
health and healing,
healing, aging,
aging.
relationship to motherhood, relationship to marriage, relationship to work, relationship to your body. I mean, anywhere you want to take it. I mean, I will say you were just recounting something to me that I think had a lot of relevance. Do
Yeah,
you want to start there?
I can start there, and I can say I'm really honest right now. I feel amazing in a lot of ways. In relative to how I felt in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s. Yes, there is a lot of kind of downside with the women aging track when you hit your mid 50s, but there is something really amazing about being over it. I think you hit it on the head. Like you kind of go up this hill, and yeah, you may be going down the other side, but you're going down the other side so much more powerful and so much more wise and in control and comfortable than the way up.
Yeah.
And so for that, I'm like really, really happy, and I feel really, really good about myself. Just
So
like
that's amazing.
strange.
I was just telling you, like before we came on, like you're absolutely glowing and I'm not lying. And yeah, I mean, so you can tell me that story, or you can just tell me like when I say over it, what comes to mind? Like, what are you over? What
Well,
are you over? Like, or what do you want to be over? But what do you feel like you are over?
yeah, and I do want to tell that story, but I will start with what I'm over, and I'm just gonna like quickly kind of gloss over some things, and
Yeah.
if we want to then come back and deep dive
Yeah.
any of them, we can. But I am over a lot of insecurities.
Hmm.
Um, and I think a lot of women and young girls grow up with insecurities. I don't think it's anything too unique. Maybe what you're insecure about may be slightly different, but for me, I grew up in a time where like dieting was in my house, and my mother always talked about dieting, and
Mm,
soap came out and everything we ate was diet, at least me and my mother, it was like I really cared about my weight in a like obsessive number way, and not as opposed to caring about my health,
yeah.
and so there was that insecurity, a lot of insecurity though, that tied with weight would be and body image would just be like looks in general, and um so I definitely, and then other insecurity, yeah, and then some of those insecurities like lead to jealousies, right? Like when you're in relationships, like I had some terrible moments in my life and in my relationships dealing with jealousy that when I think back on, I'm so upset with myself and embarrassed about, and like, oh, shame on me. How could I let that? Because what those insecurities and what jealousy does to you is it changes you as a person, and it makes it brings out a very ugly side to you. So no matter how physically beautiful you may think you are, if you're acting from insecurity or jealousy, you're actually acting in a really ugly way.
Well,
And
I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, about all of it. I remember my mom brought me to my primary care doctor when I was, I think, 13 and put me on a diet. Right at that time where like you're getting your period and maybe you are putting a little bit of weight on because that's what your body wants to do to make boobs and stuff.
right.
So I totally get that. And I do wonder about now also, as you look back on the jealousies and stuff that came as a result of the insecurities. I heard you say, like, I feel embarrassed and I feel shame for the way I acted. But I do also wonder, is there a self-compassion piece now adjacent to that that says, and I understand and I have compassion for myself? Or is that something you feel still in process for you?
Yeah, I guess it's less about compassion for myself at that time as it is that I feel proud of my progress. So I
Yeah.
feel like I've evolved as a human being, and maybe it just comes with age, maybe it comes with experience, and learning from tough times or struggles, but I feel like I've grown through the struggles, and I feel proud of the way that I've grown, and I really don't feel like I have, I mean, we all have our moments of doubt or moments of this or that or the other, but I don't feel the same in like deep insecurity that's going to affect me in the same way.
You said, oh, maybe it's just age, it's getting older that has made things better. And I wonder about that because obviously as women, our bodies are constantly changing. So whether or not we birth biological children or not, I mean, our bodies are just constantly changing
Crazy.
throughout the age span, right?
Yeah.
And then there are things that happen to our bodies, accidents, illnesses that are not of our choosing that can also change our bodies. And just in addition to just getting older and looking in the rearview mirror at have there been things that have helped you to become like more accepting of yourself, more accepting of body, whether that's weight or body shape or body performance, or, are there things that you can point to?
Yeah, probably. It is funny about body shape, right? Because as you get your body does constantly change as a woman. It's like there are a lot of things that change as a woman, right? Like I feel like we have different chapters in our in different books.
Mm-hmm.
Our life is like a multi-volume set.
Yeah.
Within this multi-volume set, that we have different chapters. We have a chapter on, going one career path, and another chapter we've gone another career path because for whatever reason, we became a mother, we are taking care of a parent, we are whatever, things happen and we have to keep changing. I find it fascinating, but also at the same time, our hormones are changing, our bodies are changing, like our
Right.
psyche is changing. It's like, so we have all those changes. And I feel like the number on the scale for me, which I don't even have a scale in my house to say what that is, but I know I can go to the doctor year after year and I'm like, geez, like my clothes don't fit the same, but the number is the same. And I'm like, how can that be? Because
Or, oh, yeah, I know a lot of women have the experience of like, my clothes don't fit and the number keeps going up, but my diet's staying the same. Like, that's my experience is like, I'm not doing anything different.
different.
Why do I keep gaining weight?
And there's that too, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So it's like all over the place. It's very weird. We can't really figure it out. The thing that, to your question, I went through a number of injuries and I forget exactly what your question was, but I know what I was
Well,
gonna
like what's
answer.
helped you lose or release
Oh,
some of the insecurities around body in particular?
oh yeah. So I've had a number of injuries and completely debilitating injuries where like I could not, I had a herniated disc in my back. I was in complete spasm, pain down on the legs. I was like, couldn't get off the living room floor. I was literally on, just lying on the floor for days and days and days and days, taking painkillers, couldn't walk, like I couldn't do anything. And then I had, I did finally get through that with a lot of PT and some, I don't know, like cortisone type,
Yeah.
epidural type shots and a lot of time. I finally get over that. And then I tore my hamstring, so 100% detach
Wow.
my hamstring from my pelvic bone. Again, completely debilitating. I could not do anything for myself. I mean, my husband he had to take me to the shower. He had to bathe me. He had to take me to the toilet. He had to dress me. He had to take me into bed. He had to take me out of bed. And that was for a really long, and it was a full year of recovery.
Yeah.
So when you go through something that's so debilitating, when you literally, we all take for granted, of course, what our bodies can do. But when you go through that level of debilitation and when you start to work back, I think it's like, okay, if I can just get through my day and not feel pain, that's a really good day. And if so
So
for me,
that shifts the focus from
total
what the
shift.
number is, what I think I look like,
Yeah.
to just, can I make this body move? Can I have mobility?
And like the ability for the body to heal
Yeah.
and the way in which the body can heal. And then the last thing is like disease, right? Like what causes disease? And so after my hernia episode, and I think it was like literally within a year and a half or so is when my hamstring tear. And then I spend a year recouping from the hamstring tear and I'm diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky because I was caught early. I have amazing medical care at my fingertips and I could access treatment quickly and efficiently and effectively, and I could move on with my life. But you'd have to stop and think like, well, what causes disease? And yeah, there's a hereditary component. And I do have a family, my mother's mother had premenopausal breast cancer. So you could say, okay, well, maybe that's a hereditary thing. And maybe it is, but I don't have like the genetic
Yeah.
like the BRCA
You don't
gene.
have BRCA gene, yeah.
I don't know if she did. They never tested her for that, so we don't even know. But I don't have the BRCA gene, so it's not genetic in that sense. And then I think about stress,
Right.
and how disabling and
Well, the internalization of stress for women, particularly in terms of how much we give and give and give and give. And I always think about the breasts as obviously breasts, if you make the choice and your body has the ability to, nurse a child, the breasts in some ways, therefore, are about giving and servicing. And, I just feel like it's always a metaphor for the ways that women give and give and give and serve and serve and serve. I mean, is that what you're thinking about when you talk about stress?
I'm thinking about, well, I love that. I wasn't exactly thinking that, but I do love that. And I do agree with that. But I was also just thinking more in terms of how much stress do we self-impose? And as women, I think we beat ourselves up a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And am I a good enough mother? Am I a good enough wife? Am I good enough in my job? It always felt really impossible to be everything at once, right? Like, you're trying to be the best mother, well, then you suck at your job. You're trying to be great at your job, but you're being a horrible wife. And there's just so much, I think, stress that transcends those constant feelings.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm not enough. I'm not enough in any of these parts of my life.
And yet at the same time, most women are carrying the world on their shoulders. And which is not to discredit female and male partners or however partners identify in your world, but it's like most women I know are literally holding up the world and never feeling like it's enough. And I always get this image, particularly this with the breasts, of like, how many people are trying to suck at your titties at once? It's like, you got your coworkers, it's gross, but like your boss, you got like your friends, you've got your kids, you got maybe the partner, you've got the dog, you got like, everybody's trying to suck on the titty. And it's like, how much can a titty take?
I think we should
that's what I think about.
Make a t-shirt.
How much can the titty take? The titties are over it. And I really feel like sometimes that's the energetic manifestation of breast issues or breast cancers. It's sort of like the titties are waving the white flag. Like, I can't do this anymore. Something's got to give.
Yeah. So I think that, was kind of like the final of the, of those that helped me move past some of the stuff that maybe I was beating myself up about or being insecure about. It's like, you know what? Today I got up and I like did yoga. Like, I'm amazing. You know what I did today? I stood on my head.
You stood on your head?
Yeah. I had my legs straight up in the air.
No way.
I swear to God.
How'd you get up there? How'd you do that?
No props or nobody came over.
That's badass.
I know. I couldn't even believe it.
Because you've never done that before.
No. I mean,
you're going to have to teach me.
Maybe when I was
think
like,
I'm scared.
well,
yeah.
But it's been a long, long time since I stood on my head with my feet straight up in the air.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. So see, that's like.
And you're doing that now for the first time in your life.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Just like so great.
So empowering. I mean, that is like now the emphasis on like, oh my gosh, look what my body can do.
Yes.
Which I felt some part of that, like with giving birth, like, oh my gosh, look what my body can do.
That was the last time I felt that like incredible, like, oh my God, what the body can do with giving birth. That was amazing. The ability to give birth I thought that was so empowering.
Control yourself. Don't drink too much. Don't talk too much. Don't look that way. Don't stare at that boy. Don't giggle. Don't wiggle. That's too short.
So am struck by you saying that was the last time I felt that way. Empowered. It's a while ago. Your kids are not young. But you do, yeah, from my perspective, you do amazing things. Like you talk about your healing journey from these injuries and
Yeah.
also definitely healing for breast cancer. That's
Yeah.
no small feat, right?
No,
Your body has done some tremendous things.
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And here you are standing on your head in your
No, I
mid
can't believe
50s.
I did that today. It was so exciting.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing about this whole body image and appearance thing? And I know other people have said this before, but it just never struck me the way it did yesterday. I was looking through old pictures and I came across actually, I mean, obviously I'm not married anymore, but I came across my wedding, one of my wedding photos. And I literally, I'm just going to say it, I was struck dumb by how beautiful I looked. If you had asked me at that time, do you think you're beautiful? I would have said, I'm okay. I've got this going on. I've got that going on. I'm trying to lose weight. This isn't quite right. That's not quite right. But I had this moment of almost looking at this picture like it wasn't me and thinking, oh my God, I was so beautiful. And how sad that all those years,
Exactly.
I never thought I was beautiful.
I've
Never felt that way.
I've had that same feeling in looking back at old pictures, and it's really weird. And you have to keep reminding yourself now, every time you go and you take a picture and you look at it and you're like, oh, I look terrible. It's like, no, you don't, because your future self is going to think you look amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
that's
look at
true.
the picture. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, because
It does help. And also I feel like, I don't know how you feel now but I feel like, yes, I don't look like I'm in my 20s or my 30s or even maybe my 40s. I'd like to think I look a little bit like the age I actually am, but I am so much more accepting of myself now than I ever was. It's like I can actually look in the mirror and not go into full on critique mode. My face, my body, my this, my that. Like that was just a running Greek chorus my whole life.
It's
Really
so damaging, and it
so
makes me
damaging.
feel really badly for the way social media has entered this space for young women, because it must be even worse than when we had it.
Must be even worse. But I remember even just looking at the magazines that we would look at when we were kids and thinking, God, I'll never measure up. I don't look anything like these people.
Right.
But, I guess that's why I'm not overly worried at all about wrinkles and stuff. It's like I almost see beyond it. I mean, I certainly don't see it in my friends who are my age, that my friends are so beautiful. And so it's like, if I'm going to see my friends as so beautiful, why not just see myself that way too?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us your story?
Yeah, because I think I had this revelation after a conversation that I had and I literally, I think, even said that at the well, I should just start the story, I think, because I'm not going to make sense otherwise. But once I tell you what the story is, then I guess I should tell you the revelation that I had. But I was having a walk and talk, I like to call it. So I'll go out for a walk, and my daughter will go out for a walk, and we'll talk
By phone.
Yeah. She's in another city, and she was struggling with some things, and she's been struggling with them for a while. And some of them are around just overall, happiness of where she's at in life, where she's living, where she's working. And so we've been talking about these things for a while, and she is in a relationship with a man which is, that part of her life is really amazing. And she's really happy with that element of her life, but these other elements of her life, she's not so sure. how happy she is. And up until now, and I would say we've been having these conversations since probably the beginning of the year. And up until now, I've been encouraging her to kind of stick with it, stick it out. Like, you have a good life. You're lucky you have a paycheck. You like to do fun things, and you like to buy nice things, and
Don't change it up too much. Stick
you
with
like to
that.
travel,
Yeah.
you got a good job, just,
Don't mess with this. It's good enough. Yeah.
and so we're talking and yesterday, and again, these same issues coming up, and she tells me how she went over to a friend's house the night before, and she was hanging out with a friend and the friend's sister. And she says the friend's sister said to her, have you ever heard the saying, it's better to dance with the devil you know than the devil you don't know?
Right.
And Becca said, I'd never heard that. That's just, but it was like very powerful. And it really resonated with her. And I all of a sudden had this moment, and I realized, so when I was her age, and I was unhappy at my job, but I was also excelling at my job. And it was at an unusual time in the legal profession where things were really good for lawyers. Like, there were times in my legal career where things were horrible for lawyers, but we went from into a phase at one point in time where the big firms were like booming, and I could have made a move to a big firm or a bigger firm. I was already with a big firm, but I could have made a move with a super big firm, or potentially made a move and gone in-house, or made a move to a super big firm to then make my way in-house. And I kept telling myself, it's better to dance with the devil you know than the devil you don't. I literally kept saying those exact
So
words.
you had this like collapsing of the dimensions of time in that moment. Like, oh my God, I used to give myself that same advice. I'm giving her that advice. She's getting that advice.
And I never made the switch. I was nervous.
Yeah.
Well, I want to have babies, so maybe I don't, I don't know. And honestly, like that, I have such regret over that. I don't know what my life or career path would have been had I not been afraid to make the move.
Yeah. Well, there's something, there's something embedded right in that saying, right? The devil. It's like, I know it's just a saying, but in so many ways, it often is a situation where it's like, okay, this isn't horrible,
right?
But it's still not my ideal. And it kind of speaks to that way that I think we're conditioned so much as women, which is sort of like, don't ask for more than you get. Don't be selfish. Don't be greedy. Don't strive for more than your share. I mean, it's all these embedded messages.
Exactly. And so I immediately, for the first time since the beginning of the new year, switched my advice. And it wasn't like I didn't advise her what I thought she should do with respect to her living situation or her job. I just said, I'm not worried about you.
Yep.
If you decide to pick up and give up your apartment and move out of that city that you're living in, give up your job, and I'm not worried about you. You're going to find your way.
Yeah.
My money's on you.
Yeah, I love that.
And don't worry that you don't know what devil it is, but you're with a devil. So like you have to make choices, and you have to believe in yourself. And
don't be afraid to want for more.
Yeah. Right. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe that I could handle what I wanted in a personal sense and whatever was going to come at me from a professional sense. And,
Yes.
that's bullshit. I'm sure I could have handled it. You take it as it comes. And if you don't like it, you move again. But we are equipped. We are very equipped. And when we started this conversation saying we are a multi-volume set and every volume has many chapters. And I didn't allow myself to explore certain chapters. There's certain chapters that are unwritten because I was too afraid to go there. And my advice yesterday to my daughter was write the chapters.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to explore. And isn't that also like, it's still relevant today? It's not just like, oh, what I would tell my daughter or what I would tell my 20-year-old self or my 30, but it's like, how does that apply to us now? Right? Because not you, but I do know a lot of people who, married really young. There's nothing wrong with that, but didn't have an opportunity to explore other things, or, settled in a career and never gave themselves an opportunity to explore other things, or, on and on and on. And this sense of like our personal development being something that is always accessible to us throughout our lifespan is like, as long as you're alive, you have an opportunity to try something new, to take a chance on yourself, and how scary it is, right? And how much conditioning there is to just don't rock the boat, don't make people upset, don't disappoint anyone, don't change course, dance with the devil, So, I mean, I think that's a really powerful metaphor and realization on your part.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. And then the part that I was starting with, that I was like, wait, I'll tell the story and then I'll say it. I then apologized to my daughter, and I said, I recognize that for all these months, what I've been talking to you about has been speaking to you in a way that the underlying message was that to stick with what you got, because I don't know that you could, it was almost like I don't have faith or confidence in your abilities to go out and do something, get more, do more, be bigger. And for that, I'm really, really sorry. And it's not true.
Yeah.
And just because I did that to myself at your age, there's no way I'm doing that to you.
I
So
love that.
you have all of my faith and confidence and support to go out and just make the decision that you want to make when you're ready to make it, and go be and do you.
And you know what? You're an awesome mom. And for listeners who don't have a mom like you, there is a way that you can internalize this message for yourself, because that's really what it's about, is that ability to say to yourself, even if you don't believe it yet, maybe I could want more, and maybe it's okay to want more. And how much do I want to settle for? How big do I want to shine? Like, can I let myself dream of something more? And there's no time limit on that. And so, in thinking about yourself and where you sit right now in your life, your career, your relationships, I mean, are there still areas that you want to, for yourself, continue to sort of push against whatever the bubble is? Because we all have our bubbles. But are there areas you're still wanting to kind of, and maybe pushes, but expand and stretch into?
I love that question. And it's so funny because another day when I was having a walk and talk with my daughter, that aspect, this topic came up. And again, it was something that I said, and I was like, wait a second, I'm not sure that I really believe what I said. So the first part of what I said, which I did believe, is because she was commenting about how many interests she has and how many things she wants to do and accomplish, and places she wants to explore. And she's like, I am not even 25 years old.
Right.
And I said, oh my gosh, you are not even 25 years old. Of course you want to do and be and see all of these things. You are not even 24 years old, and there are 800 million doors. And they're not only doors that you can open, they're doors that are literally already opened for you.
Yeah.
All you have to do is walk through all these doors, and you can walk in and out at leisure. And then I said, at my age, there's not so many doors.
Wah, wah, wah.
And I'm like, and they're definitely not open. I mean, they're like locked. I have to find the key. She was laughing. And I'm like, I've got to find the key. Then I got to find the door. I got to figure out which key fits in which door.
And I don't have my glasses, so
I don't have my glasses.
see what I'm doing.
And I'm like, I don't know if there's any doors for me. And then I was like, and then you get to be like your grandparents' age. And I think the doors come back. Like,
Wait a minute, but do you even believe what you just said?
no. And then I was like, I'm not sure I believe what I said.
Is there a part of you that believes it and a part of you that
yeah.
doesn't?
And then I was all confused. Like, I definitely believe it for her. Like, I definitely believe her doors are wide open, no keys, you know.
It's so interesting because I feel like for you and I and women our age, we have the key in our pocket too, but we don't necessarily know it. I feel like in some ways there's the potential at this age to be even more free.
Mm-hmm.
If you've done some modicum of inner work and healing and are starting to feel like in the best possible healthy way, more deserving.
Yeah, no.
Then what can you allow yourself that maybe you would not have allowed yourself when you were in your 20s? Because I look back on my 20s and I'm like, yeah, there were countless doors. I just chose a door, slammed the door shut behind me. I'm like, okay, this is, I mean, this wasn't in my 20s, but even in my 30s, like, okay, it's this marriage. It's this job. It's this friend. It's this. Yep. And I just needed to feel something definite. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't handle the anxiety of not knowing how things were going to work out. Were things going to work out? Was I going to find the right job? Was I going to find the right person? And so I shut those doors myself.
Mm.
Whereas now I feel like I'm looking for and I'm creating the doors. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And I love that. And I think as women, we need each other. I think that's, one of the things that like makes me want to glom on to you is because you are this brave woman, and you're like, if I, you're gonna help hold me accountable. I'm gonna help hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're gonna push each other. We believe in each other. And if I know like an inkling of your dream, I'm gonna be right there to like make it happen for you if I can, right? That
just speaks to the power of female friendships.
yes.
So essential.
Yes. Yes. And
Healthy female friendships.
I think that's something you learn over the years too.
You want to say more about that? Because I feel like, I don't know if this is just in relation to me. I know you both have friends, but like you seem far more open in a way to me over the last couple of years, maybe open to me, maybe you've been open to others, but you do seem more open in general.
Yeah, I think it's probably true. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but I think it all ties back to what I started with at the beginning, like just feeling really good about myself and the place that I'm in, the space that I'm in. And I think that just has improved a lot of aspects of my life, which includes my friendships.
Control yourself. Don't drink too much. Don't talk too much. Don't look that way. Don't stare at that boy. Don't giggle. Don't wiggle. That's too short.
Do you feel like you're more available for friendship, or what has shifted through the years?
I definitely feel more available for friendship. I think I think when you're bogged down in a lot of inner stuff, caring for your kids, stressing over, not that we ever stop caring or stressing for our families. But I don't know. I think there was a time where I was bogged down with a lot of stuff. I don't even know how to say it.
Yeah,
other-
burdened.
Yeah. And not in the sense that like my family's a burden, but
No,
yeah.
I know, but burdened by the responsibilities of life. And
Yeah.
I mean, we all can relate to this. I'm not speaking on your behalf, but like, and all of our inner conflicts and dilemmas and
Yeah.
griefs and, everything that keeps us sort of mired and less present or available. And I think there's also obviously, I mean, everybody stands differently on this. Like, I only had one child and I didn't feel in my marriage like there was a real friendship going on with my partner at that time. So I always leaned really heavily on my female friends, even when my son was really young.
And I think
Yeah.
I did also in my in my little inner circle of my kids, friends, parents who I became close with. I think there was a lot of that. But yeah, there was something you just said that like triggered something in me about
We were talking yeah. So I also have another question while you're thinking on that is, what about your relationship to work?
oh, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, well then perfect. How has that changed for you?
Yes, that is a huge piece also, because I spent a handful of years, I think it was ended up being 7 or 8, when I wasn't working at all.
Mm.
And that really changed me as a person. And while on the one hand, I felt very fortunate to be able to focus my time and energy on my family, and my kids were young, and I loved every minute of it in many, many ways, but it stole a piece of me, like, or something in me died by not having that professional arm of
Yeah,
my
your
life.
professional identity, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I felt it changed things in my marriage in a way that I didn't anticipate,
Yep.
because we both we met because we were in school together. We started our careers together. Like that was a thing, right? We both
Right.
had our careers, and you know, the the decision to have a family was such a happy and beautiful decision. And then the decision to stop working in order to like focus on the family, I remember wanting that more than, like, you could say, would you like this $20 million, or would you like to just stay home and be a stay-at-home mom? And I would have said, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom.
But you're really
$20
speaking to
million.
some unintended relational consequences, which, I'm
Yeah.
a couples therapist, and this is not just a heterosexual issue. I see across all relationships where one person or partner may decide, it might be, decide to stay home, and that there can really be some power dynamics that shift within the relationship.
Yeah, and that was hard. It
Yeah.
was really, really hard for me. And it also, the other consequence of it, as time was ticking on, I was getting more and more away from like being a professional woman. I started to, you create dialogues in your head.
Yes.
You start these stories, and they're untruths, but you believe them as truth. And my story in my head was, I'll never be able to practice law again. I'm too far out of the game.
Yes.
I can't multitask. So while there are some women who can be great lawyers and also be great moms, like I can't. It's just, I can't deal with stress that way. I don't even know. Like,
Yeah. Just,
and
I can't.
yeah. And so it took a lot of guts to put myself out there, and
Yeah.
and the way in which I did it, because I was so convinced that I couldn't do it, is I took a job with I applied to a temp agency who placed lawyers in like temp positions, and I would get paid like something stupid, like
Yeah.
$15 an hour
Hmm.
as a temp lawyer. It's like the weirdest thing. And I was put on this really stupid project where
Stupid, stupid,
it was
stupid.
all so dumb. But the whole thing that I was justifying in my head was I needed to see if I could get up in the morning, get my kids off to school, dress professionally, get downtown again,
Yeah.
and like spend a day working and then get out of town in time to then be a mom again after school hours. So it wasn't, I only worked until like 3 o'clock because I then wanted to get home in time. And it was like, it's bizarro world, but I mean, it didn't take me very long to realize, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, I can do more than this,
Right,
right? Yeah, I
right?
want
Like,
more than this. Yeah.
yeah, and if I'm gonna do this, I better make more money than $15 an hour, because
Yeah.
that's not covering my parking for the day.
Yep. Yep. I mean, what about just being in, and you don't have to reveal any company secrets, but being in a long-term marriage and how that shifts over time
Yeah, that's a great question.
as you shift as a woman, and he shifts as his own individual self. I mean, you can only speak to your part, but it's like, from all outward appearances, I mean, you guys having a tremendously loving and fun relationship, but I know how hard marriage can be and how hard how much people have to work at it. So as you're going through all your ebbs and flows and changes, and your partner is too, like, what is your relationship to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Definitely a lot of ebbs and flows. Marriage is really hard. All relationships are hard, and all relationships require work, right? Um and mine's been no different. And again, like, I started this conversation saying I feel really amazing and I'm like in a really good place, and I think that helps my marriage to feel really amazing, right? Like,
Right.
I think you know some of those days when I wasn't feeling so great about myself, probably fed to some negativity within the relationship. And I am lucky that my husband is definitely super loving and super committed, but he's also like constantly coaching in a way to which I can laugh because you know him so well, but he really is a good coach. Like, he's not wrong in and he's been saying it for, he's coached for years, through good times and bad times, what's important in a marriage. And I think some people, maybe if they don't hear that enough, it's easier to give up, or
So when you say he coached, you're saying like he was taking a position, he was really advocating for the relationship. Not
yes,
that you weren't, but he was really, he's very vocal. So
yeah,
he's been very vocal and advocating for the relationship and the components that he feels are really essential to keep it going. And you feel he's been right. I mean, from your perspective, whether you're borrowing some of this from him and some for you, but like, what for you do you feel are the essential ingredients to maintain a healthy relationship?
well, certainly, trust and honesty. I mean, I think that's goes without saying. It's number one. Like, you have to have, and this concept of friendship, which is part of trust and honesty, because that's everything that your house is built on. And so, and then it's, love and kindness,
Yeah.
and the ability to compromise and communicate. All those things are so important, right? But I think like you have to have this foundation of trust and friendship.
Well said.
Control yourself. Don't drink too much. Don't talk too much. Don't look that way. Don't stare that boy. Don't giggle. Don't wiggle. That's too short.
What are you most excited about getting older?
I really want to travel more.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that I know COVID isn't over, but we spent a lot of years saying we can't travel because
We're over it.
we're over it.
Over
That's one
COVID.
thing. I'm
Yeah.
over it. So I would like to travel and have more opportunities to travel with my husband, because I feel like, when you talk about how to keep your relationship strong and growing, it's like experience more than anything, right?
Yeah.
And we all know it. We all know that things aren't gonna make you happy, but experiences are. And so experiences together is so important to me, and I think also my husband. So I think, we go to a lot of concerts together. Those are really fun experiences. We like to get together with friends. We like to, go to museums or go to different cool art exhibits, or, get out into nature and experience.
Yeah, you
life.
guys are big hikers. I mean, that just goes to say that experiences don't need to cost a lot of money, but there is something about the exploring
Right.
life together.
Right. And that I feel like with travel, there's like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of memories to be built through travel.
I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you about is just like, as your kids have gotten older, because they're both in their 20s now, how has your relationship to motherhood shifted or changed? Like your role, your relationship to it, and maybe even your confidence in your role, or things you used to like do to yourself in terms of like little mind fucks that you don't do anymore, just trips you'd put yourself through in your own head and heart that have shifted.
I mean, I feel like, I've always absolutely loved being a mother, and I've always loved my relationship with my kids. I have two kids. They're very different from one another in many, many ways. And I feel like I've always had a very unique and different relationship that valued each one of them. And I feel like as they get older, it just becomes so much more enriched because of the conversations we can have and the experiences we can share together, and the activities that we can do together. I mean, you can do a lot with kids when they're little, like cooking and or hiking, going on nature walks, but the richness of the experience just grows just with age, for all of you. So I feel like all of that is just amazing, and I feel I view both of my kids as my friends. It doesn't mean I don't understand the role of parenting. I know a lot of people say, you're not supposed to be your kid's best friend, your kid's friend or something.
Well,
But
they're adults now.
yeah, but I've always kind of, yeah, my
But
kids
you're
are,
saying you've always in some part
there's always been
fostered a
some
friendship.
part of
Yeah.
friendship. And I feel like, you try and build trust with your kids. Again, back to trust. Like, I think you need that foundation when you're parenting. They need to know you're being honest with them, and you need to know that they're being honest, and they need to know that they can be honest.
Well, really some of the same things that you listed for adult love relationships, trust and honesty, ability to have fun,
Yeah.
friendship, and creating, memories together
Yeah.
as essential components of parenthood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could give advice to your 16-year-old self, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that I would tell her, I know what I would tell her that she's beautiful and brilliant, and the world is her oyster, and she should not sell herself short, and she should go for her dreams, and she should not be afraid or feel like there are boundaries. And it's okay not to know what you want to do.
What would you tell yourself today?
Or who you want to be. And, I think what I need to remind myself of right now, in the very now of me, is that I should not feel like there are boundaries, that I should not feel like I don't belong, or I'm not good enough or smart enough to move to the next level or explore new opportunities should they come my way. That I can handle it.
That you can handle it and you can keep writing those chapters.
Yeah. That's what I need my friends to tell me too.
Andrea.
And I can stand on my head.
And you can stand on your head. So, I mean, come on, if you can stand on your head, you can do just about anything.
There's a lot I can do.
There's so much you can do. There's so many doors just opening right in front of you.
I know.
So many.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do is walk through them.
Yeah.
And you're beautiful. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't make some different choices and explore some new things.
Thank you. Right. That's right.
I'm here to remind you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you're here to remind me.
Yes.
Well, I think that's a brilliant and poignant way to end our podcast for today. But I just want to say thank you so much for showing up with the fullness of who you are today.
This was awesome. You are amazing. You did a great job. I love talking with you. I'll be a repeat guest anytime.
Yay. We'll bring Andrea back. Andrea, episode 23. She's back again.
Anytime. This was so fun.
And you did really good with your Andrea stories.
Oh, I did?
Yes, your Andrea stories were very concise.
Oh, good.
For people who don't know what an Andrea story is, they can go for a while.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so funny and good for me.
You did amazing. Yeah. So thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too. Mwah.
Mwah.
April in your soul, tears falling like the raindrops through the sound, colors reflection in your eyes. The April in your heart blossoms of the flowers of all kinds. I love them all, I love them all. Spring is in your love, spring is in your eyes, spring is in your heart, I want to live in, and the April of your soul, dark clouds of the winter. Your soul, tears falling like the raindrops through the sound, colors, reflection in your eyes. The April in your heart blossoms of the flowers of all kinds.